Welcome, parents. Thank you for being here today. My name is Amanda Carrillo. I am a student at Texas A&M University, San Antonio, and this is Miss Michelle Martinez. Today we'll be going over a life skill that every child needs, which is perspective taking. And it's from this book called Mind in the Making. I guess the first question that you want to know is, why is perspective taking important for children? Perspective taking helps children make sense of their own and others' experiences. If children learn perspective taking, they're making sense of other people's feelings and their thoughts. This will also show a better adjustment to school because it lets the child understand and know what the teacher wants and expects, and which ultimately leads to an easier time when learning how to read. How can you promote perspective taking in children? There are 9 different suggestions that are from this book that we would like to share with you today. And also we have some templates at your tables if you want to go ahead and follow along. Suggestion number 1 is to practice what we preach. Children who feel listened to, who feel understood, are more able to understand and listen to others. If you're talking to someone and you do not agree with what they're saying, you always want to ask yourself, what is this person thinking? And the more that you practice this skill, the better that you become at using it. Suggestion number 2 is to view teaching children to be with others as equally important as being independent. We want our children to learn to get along, and not only inside the classroom, but outside the classroom as well. As parents, we set rules, we reinforce these rules, and if these rules are broken, there are consequences. And we want our children to understand that we're not only teaching them about these rules, but that they're also looking at us, the teacher, the parent, as an authority. And that is also perspective taking. Instead of children pointing fingers at each other, there are some problem-solving techniques that you can use. Number 1 is to identify the problem. Number 2, you want to determine the goal. You want to find out what is going to happen, what is the outcome going to be, or what is the focus. And then number 3, you want to come up with more than one solution. Your goal is to never say this will never work. You always want to stay positive. Number 4, you want to consider, how are these solutions going to work? You want to ask your kids, is this solution going to work? Is this solution isn't going to work? You want them to evaluate both different sides of the solution. And number 5, if a solution is not working, you want to select another solution to try. After trying a solution for a while, you want to have a family meeting and ask your kids, did this one work? Did this one not work? And last but not least, you want to evaluate the outcome. If things tend to fall apart, you want to figure out why are they falling apart. So then you will repeat the process and you will come up with another solution. Not only are we trying to teach our kids perspective taking, but we're also teaching them problem solving. Suggestion number 3 is to understand that a warming and trusting relationship is the strongest foundation for teaching perspective taking. As parents, we want our kids to have a secure and a safe relationship with us. And if they do that, then it's shown that later on they will understand the thinking and perspective of other people as well. Suggestion number 4 is to help children feel known and understood. As parents, we should try to communicate with our kids. Do not be afraid to talk to them. Even if they feel or they may look like they don't want you talking to them, it is very important that you do talk to them. There are many ways to help children feel understood. It all begins with putting yourself in your child's place and looking at the world and feeling what your child feels and what it looks like in their eyes. To help younger children and older children feel safe and understood, you want to repeat back what your child says. For example, if they say they're hungry, are you hungry? Are you thirsty? What would you like to eat? You just kind of want to reinforce that and ask them, so that they know that you understand what they're trying to say. Describe what you see going on. You want to let your child know that you recognize what they're doing. Oh wow, I saw you throw that ball way across the fence. You're letting them know that for one, you saw them, 2, you recognize that it went a far distance. And sometimes whenever you read with your child, you want to ask them questions. If they're reading a book too, you want to ask them, well, did you like the book? What didn't you like? What did you like? Or maybe making some predictions with them as well. And you want to let your kids always know that you know how they feel. Yes, I had a bad day today. Or, every day is not going to be a good day. Sometimes I have bad days too. That lets them know that you understand the way that they feel. And the next suggestions are going to be by Ms. Martinez.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. I have 5 more suggestions that we got from the book Mind in the Making. Suggestion number 5 is to talk about your feelings and your child's feelings with your child. So it can be anything as simple as I'm having a frustrating day. Let the child know that you're having a bad day, and let them know that, you know, sometimes like you have a bad day and you need some time out and then you feel better. Well, I think after I have some time out, then I'll feel better too. You want to let them know what's going on, how you feel. You don't have to try and hide it from them. And most importantly, let them know that it's not their fault that you feel that way, because that's, I think, important also in letting the kids know that it's okay. You know, mom is in a bad mood, but it doesn't mean that she's in a bad mood because of me. So that's important. Suggestion 6 is to use everyday moments to talk about other people's perspectives. So one little way that it shows that you can do that, let's say you have these little building blocks. Here I have 8 building blocks, and they're all put really closely together. Here I have 6 building blocks, but they're all kind of spread apart. So if you ask your child, which set do you think has more blocks? Usually, children will say that this set has more blocks because they're all spread apart or they take up more space, when actually it's the set that's more put together that has more blocks because there's 8 here. So when you're doing things like this with your child in any everyday situation that you may come across, you want to make sure that you talk about those things while, you know, you don't want to just say, oh no, that one has more. Okay, talk about it with them, count them. Well, let's see, let's count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This one has 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one has 6. So this is actually the one that had more. Why do you think that people might think that this one has more? So it's a good thing to talk about that with them to help them get thinking about, well, why did I think this one had more? And that to understand that other people might take that perspective also. So those are good way, you know, everyday situations that you can use with your child to help them think about what other people might be thinking. Suggestion 7 is to give opportunities to pretend. So whenever you give a group of children a chance to pretend, that is very good for them. It's basically like they're getting able to try on other people's perspectives. You know, they can play store, like somebody's the customer, somebody's the clerk, and what do you think this person's thinking, what do you think this person's thinking? It gives them a chance to put themselves in somebody else's shoes. And so you're basically, like I said, letting them try on those different perspectives, and that's very good. That pretend play can help them a whole bunch with this skill. Suggestion 8 is to use other-oriented discipline, and basically what that means is talking to your kids about how their behavior can affect somebody else. Okay, and to give you an example of that, let's just say if a child were to grab a marker and write all over mama's wall, okay, how do you think that the mom would feel about that? Okay, it was their behavior, it's something that they did, but what they need to understand is sometimes their behaviors have an effect on how other people feel. And so if you can get them thinking about that from a very young age, that's a skill that's going to be with them, you know, for the rest of their life, thinking about how their behaviors are going to affect other people. And suggestion 9 is to teach appraisal skills, which basically this kind of piggybacks off of what Amanda was saying earlier. If a child is reading a book, there are certain questions that you can ask them, like, why do you think the character feels this way? Or how would you feel if you were the character? Or what do you think would happen next? Okay, just different ways, questions that you can ask them to help them think kind of beyond the text. Like, how would I feel if that were me? And which is my favorite character and why? Okay, so those are the 9 suggestions that we have, and we put them in the pamphlet so you can look at them and with kind of some examples you can remember how to use this at home with your kids. So next what we're going to do,
next is we have a fun and engaging activity for you to do. Don't worry, it's not 4th grade, but we do have some pictures here, and as you notice, there are some bubbles. That means what is this child thinking? And it's also child friendly because we're just trying to see the perspective of different children and different ways of their thinking. And as you can tell, for example, we have a baby here, and there's a cat. And what do we notice about the baby? The baby has the cat's tail in his mouth. So what do we know about the baby? What do we know about the cat? So we kind of just want to see what are they thinking, and more or less like the emotions and feelings that they're going through. And we also have different ones, of course, but we're going to let you do that in a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and pass these out. We're going to give you about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we go over them.